Ready to escape to a Caribbean paradise where sun, sand, and adventure are waiting? Let's go to Sint Maarten. Where are we going next? Let's go. Welcome to the Traveling Cheesehead. My name is Michelle, and if you're joining me for the first time, happy to have you here. We cover everything travel related. So if you want more great travel content just like this, make sure you subscribe and ring the notification bell so you don't miss a thing. And today is exciting because we are talking about the island nation of Sint Maarten in the Caribbean. So we are going to kind of break it down for you, cover all the necessary information that you need to know prior to planning a trip to Sint Maarten. All right, first and foremost, where is Sint Maarten? It is just off the east coast of Puerto Rico, and it's about a 4 to 5 hour flight from the US mainland, depending on where you're flying from. So it is a really great destination, easy to get to. Lots of airports on the East Coast fly directly to it without any layovers. If you're in Charlotte, or if you are in Miami, or even Fort Lauderdale, there are a lot of direct flights that go to Sint Maarten. JetBlue also has some great ones from the New York area as well. So another fun fact about Sint Maarten, it is the smallest island mass that is occupied and ran by two different countries. So Sint Maarten and Sint Maarten, you've probably seen that in your research and wondering, why are there two names for one island? Well, that's because half of that island is claimed by the Dutch or the Netherlands, and the other half of that island is claimed by the French. So it is very unique in the fact that there is an international border on the island. However, because they are both part of the European Union, there's no passport check or anything like that when you're crossing from one side to the other. Now, I will say that if there is something going on the island, for instance, whenever there's been a hurricane or most recently COVID, there have been times where they have closed that international border for a period of time to handle the different things going on the island. So always check and make sure what's going on the island prior to going, so you know if you have access to both sides or not. All right, so next is what airport you're flying into. So the airport code for Sint Maarten is SXM. And people who frequent the island very lovingly refer to the island as SXM. You will actually even see signs out, like the letters where it says I heart and then the name of the place. Those are common just about everywhere nowadays. But in Sint Maarten, they have one that says I heart SXM. But you will be flying into Princess Juliana Airport. Now, this airport was heavily damaged during the 2017 Hurricane Irma that really annihilated the island quite a bit and really left it with some heavy damage. But Sint Maarten is a resilient people, and they have rebuilt that airport. It's a great airport, very clean, very modern, and now it's even been updated due to the fact that they needed to rebuild certain parts of it. It is also probably the most famous feature because of how you come into that island for landing and how the planes take off. But we'll get to that later. So once you're on the island, you're going to need to figure out if you are going to use a taxi or if you're going to rent a car. I will recommend, having been to the island a couple of times, to rent a car. It is a drivable island. You drive on the same side as you do here in the US, so that part is very simple. Even the steering wheel is on the same side as it is here in the US. There are 1,000,001 car rental companies. There is one that I do want to recommend because we had a great experience with them, and that is Leisure Car Rental. They are a mom and pop family owned business on the island, and we just had a wonderful experience with them. All right, so now that you got your transportation figured out and you have the freedom to explore the island, you might want to start considering what part of the island you want to stay on. I will say a vast majority of the people who go to St. Maarten stay on the Dutch side. That's the side that the airport is on. That is where the main shopping town is of Philipsburg. That's where the cruise port is. So there is a lot on the Dutch side, so there tends to be a lot more accommodations on the Dutch side. Coming with that though, it is a little busier. It is a little more crowded. There is a little bit more going on. So depending on the type of location that you're looking for, type of experience you're after, if you want something a little quiet, a little bit more low key, then I would stay on the French side versus the Dutch side. So let me give you some areas that you're going to want to consider. First is the Maho Beach area or the Maho area. This area is very easy because it's right by the airport. Maho Beach is the famous beach where the planes come in for a landing very low, right over the beach. And then the accommodations, there's maybe about a quarter of a mile stretch that has several hotels as well as shops and restaurants, and then some public parking along the way. So that area is very happening, lots of nightlife, and it's pretty central and accessible to other areas of the island. A little further beyond that is the Mullet Bay or Kapakoi Beach area, because those two areas, while they are a little further from the airport, they are still really within maybe a 5-minute drive to the airport. And there are some nice beaches. Mullet Bay has a great beach, and then Kapakoi Beach doesn't have as much of a beachfront. It's more rocky, more like cliffs. Another kind of happening area where there is a lot of accommodations is the Simpson Bay area. There are several major resorts that station themselves in Simpson Bay. Some of them offer really great views of the airport from a distance from across the bay. And then you have lots of shops and restaurants right in that area, casinos, movie theaters, lots to see and do right in the Simpson Bay area as well. Another area to consider is the Philipsburg, Little Bay, Great Bay area. I'm going to bunch that all together because Philipsburg is kind of the main town, and there are a few accommodations that are right there. Then you also have DV Little Bay as well as some other resorts. Bel-Air Beach Club is right there, and there's a few others that are right along Little Bay, Great Bay, and then Philipsburg. So obviously that's going to allow you to see the cruise ships coming into port. You have Fort Amsterdam right there that you can go and explore, and you have some great beaches. Then there's some alternative areas on the French side that I would recommend. You have areas near Marigot. Marigot is the city or the bigger town on the French side. That area is booming with the market. It also has a smaller like ferry port where you can take ferries out to St. Bart's, and then it has a ton of French bakeries and shops and eateries to explore as well. You can also get to Anselmarcel. That's where some of the more private resorts are. So I believe the Secrets just opened there recently. And then you can get over to Orient Bay. Now Orient Bay is a community that has some accommodations in it, and then there's also Orient Beach, which is where the nudist colony is. So just full disclosure, be prepared for that. It is a nice quiet area of the island, and it is clothing optional, but so maybe not for families, but for a couple it would be fine. With accommodations, the other thing I will say is there is a multitude of resorts. Most of them are self-catering, meaning you have a kitchen as well as a bedroom, living room. Some are studio, and then there's also a million Airbnbs, and all offer a wider range of amenities, locations scattered throughout the island. So really do your research, and if you have more questions about accommodations, I'll be reviewing my accommodations in a future video. If you're getting value so far, make sure you hit that thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and ring the notification bell, because I'm going to be coming out with more great content on St. Maarten, and you don't want to miss a thing. All right, let's move on. All right, so now that you've got your accommodations, you have a way to get around the island, you need some food. Like any of the Caribbean islands, the food scene in St. Maarten is incredible. It's very good. There's lots of choices. Grand Case is probably the biggest area for eating out with the fancier restaurants. as well as the Lolos, which I'll talk about a little bit later. Now, what I will say is the grocery stores, because it's important to know where to shop. There's really one main chain, which is Carrefour. When we've gone, we've always shopped at Le Grand Marché, which is right in Phillipsburg. They offered a great selection of food. Now, obviously at the grocery stores, anytime you're on an island, certain things cost more. So just be prepared for that. Next is you have this rental car and you need to go and park when you want to explore the different beaches. Now, most of the beaches have some areas to park in or nearby parking that is walkable. There aren't too many places where you can't park at all. The only place that I really recommend being a little bit more careful with your parking, actually there's two. One is when you are going to Margot and exploring the town. Because it is more of a city street kind of situation. You want to find parking. Most of it you can find free parking. Just make sure you're paying attention to the signage, how long you can park there, so you're not getting ticketed. The other area again is Phillipsburg. Phillipsburg also is more of a city feel or a little town feel where all the shops and restaurants and things like that are, and it's mostly a pedestrian area. So parking is limited and you oftentimes need to park outside of the city and then walk in. It's not a long walk. There is some parking right along the salt pond towards the back side of Phillipsburg. So that is also a great way to park and go explore the town. When it comes to the beaches, just about every beach has some parking. So Sint Maarten is obviously known for its beaches. There are so many beaches on both sides of the island, and I highly recommend you take a great amount of time to explore all of the beaches that you can. Each one has its own personality. Each one has different amenities. Some have nothing. There's no chair service or anything like that, a little bit more rustic. And then there's others that have everything you can imagine, from restaurants and bars and chair service and umbrella service. Don't be afraid to get out there and explore. All right, shopping. Now, whenever you go to the island, it is a great thing to do. Everybody likes to shop a little bit. Now, Phillipsburg is really known for their jewelry stores. There's 1,000,001 jewelry stores down there that you can get some good deals on in the Caribbean. But there's 1,000,000 souvenir stores in Phillipsburg, and there's a lot of unique little small mom and pop stores as well, especially when you get off the main street. When you get off the front street and go into the side streets a little bit, you find some of the really unique shops. Now, the other area is Margot. Margot has a market. Now, the market does run every single day except for Sunday. However, on Wednesdays and Saturdays are their big market days. That's when everybody comes out. So get there early if you're going to do that. Make sure you get there in the morning so you have the best selection. But the Margot market is a great place to do your souvenir shopping. So I mentioned a little bit earlier about the food options on the island, and like I said, there's 1,000,000 places to eat and some fancy restaurants, especially up in Grand Case. But for the best overall value and the most authentic Caribbean experience, I recommend checking out the Lolos that are up in Grand Case as well. They're kind of an outdoor eatery, more of a Caribbean grill, barbecue grill if you will, but the portion sizes are great. The price is reasonable for the amount of food that you get. So it's a really neat area to come and have dinner. It's very casual, low key, and you get the real Caribbean vibe. Plus the food is amazing. So when is the best time to go to Sint Maarten? Great question. Sint Maarten is in the Caribbean and it is prone to hurricane season. So the best time to go really is early in the year or after hurricane season. So I like to say the best time to go is from November all the way through June. Those are the best months to go, with probably March through June being even better. Now, I will say we have gone almost every time in August or September. that is peak hurricane season. So if you're going during those months, be prepared. Prices will be lower, some things will be closed, and you have to run the risk of getting hit by a hurricane and having your plans greatly altered. So you may want to consider getting some trip insurance to cover those costs if you need to change or move anything due to that. But when we've gone during that time, we've had a wonderful time. It's less crowded, there's not as many cruise ships in port, and just about everything is still open. So we've really enjoyed going during that time of year. The busiest time is really November, December, and then really February, March. January and early February tends to be a little bit rainier, so it's not as popular. I will also say, coming out of the COVID season, make sure you're checking on what the current requirements are for Sint Maarten. They change often, as you know, so just make sure you go to the tourism website. I'll link it down below so you can follow along. In fact, I'm going to put all the links that I've shared for the different places, the different venues, down below so you can go check out those vendors and give them some love when you are planning your trip to Sint Maarten. I'm going to cover all the things you can see and do in Sint Maarten in another video because there's a lot to cover. So that's a ton of information I just poured all over you. If you want to check out some more great things on Sint Maarten, what I want you to do next is go click right up here on the Maho Beach plane flyover. It's a great video. You're going to want to check that out to see what you're in store for when you're visiting Maho Beach. Well, thank you all for joining me on the Traveling Cheesehead. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. I look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, travel safe. Where are we going next? Let's go.